Welcome back to Couch Tales, Why We Do What We Do, the podcast where we dive into the psychology of what makes us tick. I'm your host, Analia, and today we're tackling something that affects millions of us. Why do we get anxious? What's actually happening in our bodies when anxiety hits? And most importantly, what can we do to fix it when it feels like the world is closing in on us? Before we dive in, just a friendly reminder that this is for informational purposes only, and please do not consider it professional advice. Okay, here goes. So picture this. I'm standing in line at the coffee shop last Tuesday, minding my own business when suddenly my heart starts racing. For no apparent reason, my chest feels tight, my palms get sweaty, and there's this voice in my head whispering, "Something's wrong. You can't breathe properly. Is this a heart attack? Should you go to the hospital?" Within seconds, I went from thinking about whether I wanted a muffin with my latte to wondering if I was literally dying in public. Sound familiar? Well, I managed to step outside, use a breathing technique I'll share with you today, and calmed myself down right away. But it got me thinking, what exactly is happening in our bodies during these moments of intense anxiety? And why do our minds jump to some extreme conclusions? Well, let me tell you about my friend Miguel. He's this super confident financial analyst who regularly gives presentations to rooms full of executives. But last year, he started having panic attacks during his morning commute on the subway. "It makes no sense," he told me over dinner. "I'm not afraid of the subway. I've taken it my whole life. But suddenly my heart races. I feel trapped and I'm convinced I'm going to pass out, or worse." Once Miguel understood the actual science of what was happening in his body, his panic attacks became much less frequent and much less severe. Knowledge really is power. So, what exactly is happening when anxiety hits? Our favorite bearded Viennese couch enthusiast, you know who I mean, would say it's all about repressed emotions and inner conflicts. And while there's some truth there, modern neuroscience gives us a much clearer picture of the physical process involved. When you feel anxious, your body activates its fight or flight response, an ancient survival mechanism that evolved to protect us from dangers like saber-toothed tigers and hostile tribes. Here's the step-by-step science of what happens. First, your amygdala, a tiny almond-shaped structure deep in the brain, sounds the alarm. It's like your brain's emotional smoke detector, constantly scanning for threats. This triggers your brain's command center to signal your adrenal glands to release stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol in your bloodstream. These hormones cause immediate physical changes. Your heart rate increases to pump more blood to your muscles. Your breathing becomes faster and shallower to take in more oxygen. Blood diverts from your digestive system to your limbs, preparing you to either fight or run away. All of this happens in seconds, and it's completely automatic. Your conscious mind is actually the last to know what's happening. Now, here's where things get really interesting. In our modern world, we're rarely facing actual physical threats. Instead, our amygdala gets triggered by emails, social media contents, traffic jams, or even just thoughts. But your body can't tell the difference between a real tiger and the tiger of an upcoming presentation or financial worry. It responds the same way, full emergency mode. And here's the critical part. The physical sensations of anxiety, racing heart, chest tightness, shortness of breath, can then trigger catastrophic thoughts like, "I'm having a heart attack, I can't breathe, I'm going to die," which then make the physical symptoms even worse. It's a vicious cycle. Body responds to perceived danger with physical changes. Your mind misinterprets those physical changes as evidence of actual danger, and around and around and around we go. Let's talk about that feeling of not being able to breathe. What's actually happening is that you're breathing too quickly and shallowly, hyperventilating. This causes you to exhale too much carbon dioxide. Wait, isn't carbon dioxide the waste gas we're supposed to get rid of? You might be thinking. Yes, but, and this is important, your body needs a certain balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. When you hyperventilate, you disrupt this balance by expelling too much carbon dioxide, which actually makes it harder for your body to use the oxygen in your blood. This can cause dizziness, numbness, or tingling in your arms and legs, and the sensation that you can't get enough air. Even though the problem is actually that you're breathing too much, not too little. Ironic, right? So now that we have an understanding of what's happening, how do we fix it? Remember that breathing technique I mentioned earlier? Here's the science behind why it works. When you take 3 sharp inhales through your nose, like you're sniffling or sucking up snot because you don't happen to have a tissue in hand, you're actually stimulating your diaphragm, your main breathing muscle. This helps break the shallow breathing pattern of anxiety. Then, when you exhale slowly and deeply, like you're blowing out 100 birthday candles, because let's face it, we're all living to be 100, right? You're deliberately slowing your breathing rate and increasing levels back to where they should be. This triggers your breast to digest, the counterpart to fight or flight. Your heart rate slows, your blood pressure decreases, and your muscles relax. And it happens almost immediately when you take those 3 sharp inhales and that 1 extended breath. But here's what's amazing. This isn't just about feeling better in the moment. When you use breathing techniques regularly, you're actually rewiring your brain's stress response over time. Research shows that specific breathing patterns can significantly reduce anxiety and increase resilience to stress. Let me walk you through the 3-step technique. Number 1, take 3 quick sniffs in through your nose like you're trying to smell something faint, or if you had a lot of snot in your nose and you didn't have any tissues on hand. Number 2, then slowly exhale through your mouth like you're gently blowing out all those birthday candles on your 100th birthday. And number 3, repeat this pattern about 3 times, slowly. The beauty of this technique is that you can do it anywhere, in a meeting, on the subway, in line at the grocery store, and no one will even notice. Miguel, my friend, with the subway anxiety, he started using his technique the moment he felt his heart rate increasing. The result? His panic attacks became less intense and eventually stopped altogether. It's like having a secret superpower, he told me. Just knowing I have this tool makes me feel less afraid of the anxiety itself. From an evolutionary perspective, our anxiety response made perfect sense in a world full of physical dangers. The humans who had a sensitive alarm system survived to pass on their genes. The problem is that we're now using ancient hardware to run modern software. Our bodies haven't evolved nearly as quickly as our society. And a neuropsychologist, Dr. H, puts it this way, quote, "The brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. We're wired to notice and remember threats more than rewards. A survival advantage in the wilderness, but a recipe for anxiety in today's world." But here's the hopeful part. While our brains are wired for this sensitivity to threat, they're also incredibly adaptable. Every time you use a breathing technique to calm yourself, you're teaching your brain that you can feel these physical sensations without being in danger. And over time, your amygdala becomes less reactive, your thoughts become less catastrophic, and the whole cycle of anxiety becomes easier to manage. All right, that's it for today's episode of Couch Tales, Why We Do What We Do. I'm your host, Analia. If you like this episode, please take a moment to follow, subscribe, and share it with a friend who might benefit from understanding their anxiety better. Until next time, friend, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, sometimes the path to courage isn't the absence of fear, but just remembering to breathe.